Yo, what's going on, guys? It's me, Van Weep, here back with a brand new video series for you. For those of you guys who haven't watched or read this awesome series, Chainsaw Man, yet, you should go check that out because, it's coming out with the new anime season. And I figured what better way to start it off with Halloween getting so close than a pretty gory what if I have to say so myself. That being, of course, what we're here for today. What if Asta was Chainsaw Man? So, this is going to be a pretty interesting what if you guys know anything about Chainsaw Man. Before I start the story, I will explain a few things, of course, like I do in every what if. But otherwise, strap in, get those seatbelts on, hit the like button and subscribe. I got to sneak myself promo in there. And let's get started with part one for what if Asta was Chainsaw Man. Okay, so basically, before we actually get into the story, I'm going to, follow my what ifs, explain how this story is coming to be. That being how Asta is Chainsaw Man. Now, for those of you who've been watching the anime or have read the manga, everyone would know that Denji, the protagonist of Chainsaw Man, is able to turn into the chainsaw demon hybrid mode that he does because Pochita, the chainsaw demon, is what makes up his heart. So, that is the basis of Denji's power within the world of Chainsaw Man. Now, getting over to Asta, Asta's anti-magic from the original series comes from him having the demon Liebe sealed within the grimoire and providing him with anti-magic flowing through his body. His body being special in that he doesn't possess any magic, similar to the same condition his mother had. Anyway, with that backstory being established, let's continue starting with the story right now. Asta and Yuno would be dropped at the cathedral, just like the original canon timeline of Black Clover. However, unlike the situation where Yuno had his necklace that was gifted to him by his parents, with the basket and his name, and Asta having nothing, instead both boys would have something with them in this timeline. You see, when the two babies' baskets are there, they would know that they had been dropped off there not only from the crying, but from a scratching at the door. Father would open the door looking down to see a baby boy with black hair. That being, of course, a circular turquoise necklace clutched between his fingers. This, of course, being what we all now know later as a magic stone. Meanwhile, on top of Asta, we would see and hear a growling sound. Atop of Asta would be a strange creature, growling at Father and pawing at Asta's blanket. Father, looking to the second boy, would see a boy with silver hair and bright green eyes, awake and laughing while Yuno was crying and clutching his own singular necklace. Asta would be quite cheerful playing with this weird, small animal thing. Anyway, Father would pick up both boys with a little resistance from Pochita, not wanting Asta to get taken away. Pochita following Asta and Yuno inside. Once inside, this would be when Father would begin to understand Asta's personality. Asta headbutting him, just like in the original timeline, showing off his energy, and Pochita catching him as he fell to the floor. Our story will begin several years later, with Asta and Pochita now being a pair that was inseparable. Asta, Pochita, and Yuno going out to play in the village for years as they were children, and eventually magic starting to develop within Yuno. Asta would feel amiss, not understanding why Yuno had magic and he didn't. It was something that he and Yuno had always talked about, was the dream for poor orphans like them to become the Wizard King. That was Asta's dream. Asta would hold Pochita up, telling him to get back on top of him, with Asta doing more push-ups underneath the demon's skull. Pochita would be sitting on top of Asta while he does push-ups, now at 319, 320, 321. Asta working out just like he did in the original timeline to train his body, since his magic wasn't exactly an option. One major difference between this timeline and what Denji would occur is that while Denji knew what demons were in his world, Asta has no clue what Pochita is. The only thing he knows about demons being this huge skull which allegedly the first Wizard King had slain many centuries ago. Pochita would simply follow Asta while he trained and talked about his dream, that being to become the Wizard King. As the sun was beginning to set, Pochita would make a barking sound, with Pochita and Asta heading back to the church, which now after the years was beginning to look more run down than it had in that prior flashback. Sister Lily would say, "Would you mind helping me dry these quickly?" Would smile, saying, "No problem, I got that." drying all the clothes with a single ball of wind, the rest of the orphans being impressed with Yuno's strength and skill with magic. Asta would then come running back, Pochita in his arms, asking what's going on, guys, seeing Yuno there. While the rest of the orphans were petting Pochita, Asta would hold one arm up now, the other holding Pochita, telling Yuno that he's not going to let him have his way, saying that he's going to become the Wizard King even if no one else believes in him. No one, of course, taking this seriously, especially Sister Lily, who Asta has now asked out to marry him thousands of times. With him doing so once more, begging on his knees, Pochita standing there looking at him, while Asta begs Sister Lily, please, please marry me. Lily would simply blast him with water, saying no after the 5th or 6th time of him begging. Pochita would come over and lick Asta, telling him to get up pretty much. Asta would sigh, pulling himself up, picking up Pochita, and everyone would come inside, with Father yelling at them that dinner is going to be happening now. As per usual, they'd be eating no potatoes, which is basically a cheap type of potato, known for being filling, but definitely not tasty. They can be used, however, to make a variety of dishes, but they're all dry and bland. Anyway, that's basically what everyone at the orphanage at the church would eat. Asta would, of course, feed some of his dinner to Pochita, who would be very thankful for it. Asta often would tell Pochita that one day, when he's a magic knight, or even the Wizard King, then he's going to be able to make sure everyone can eat whatever they want here in the church. One of the younger boys would laugh, telling Asta that they're never going to be leaving the village of Hage. No one ever leaves. Maybe except for Yuno. Yuno has some potential of magic, so maybe there's a chance he can actually leave. Everyone else would nod their head in agreement. Father telling them not to look so glum and saying if Asta really believes it, then, with a tear in his eye, he'd say, we should give him our best positivity when he tries. They have no faith in me at all. Asta be thinking, well, screw you, I'm gonna become the Wizard King no matter what anyone says. You hear me? Even you know, I'm not gonna let you get in my way. I didn't say anything, Yuno would mutter. God, you're so short and annoying. No wonder Sister Lily refuses to marry you. Hell, I'd be surprised if any girl wants to marry you. Asta would feel like an arrow had been shot through his heart again. Well, just you wait and see. It's almost time for the grimoire ceremony anyway. Once I get my grimoire, then everything's gonna work out. You can count on that. Asta would get up after being depressed by what everyone was saying, grabbing Pochita and heading out, running out of the church saying he's going off to go train. Nash, the boy from earlier, would laugh saying there's no way that guy's older than he is. Sister Lily would say that's really rude and that he shouldn't be talking like that. Sister Lily would get up about to go after Asta, but Yuno would stop her saying that there's nothing to worry about. Knowing that guy, Yuno would smile. Asta'll be just fine. Soon, the grimoire acceptance ceremony would commence. All of the 15-year-olds within the village heading to the Great Tower, where everyone would be going to receive said grimoires. And once Yuno had entered and everyone else was there, the books would begin flying off the shelves, a 4-leaf clover landing within Yuno's hands. This being the same clover grimoire as the one the Wizard King had, the first Wizard King had from years ago. Everyone was impressed at Yuno's strength and, well, what his destiny had waiting for him. Meanwhile, Asta had nothing show up at all. Is this some sort of mistake? Asta would ask. Holding his hands up in the air, everyone would turn, being surprised. Even someone with almost zero magic would have been able to get a grimoire, at the very least. This was unprecedented. After the ceremony, Asta would be pretty depressed, being left in a daze from that whole experience, wondering why. Seeing in his mind a flashback, a promise that he had with Yuno. Him fist-bumping Yuno when they were both the same height. Well, he's probably forgotten all about that, Asta would think. Asta tried to dismiss this with sheer confidence after he sees Yuno walking nearby at the ceremony's venue. But while standing in front of the stone tower, a mysterious figure would begin to approach Yuno and suddenly bind him with some metal chains using a magic spell. Then this guy would just snatch Yuno's grimoire before introducing himself, saying his name is Revchi Salik, and he's actually a former magic knight. Revchi began to explain that he's going to be putting a beautiful price on Yuno's grimoire on the black market, since, especially for collectors, this type of grimoire is going to sell handsomely. Just as this guy would say this, suddenly Asta would come running down the hill, Pochita falling right behind him. Asta would run up, telling him to leave Yuno alone. As he yells this, Revchi would turn, showing the scar on his face, saying not to mess with him, kid. Suddenly a huge chain would bash Asta into the side of the wall, hitting the stone as Asta would cough up blood. Revchi would get even more annoyed after Asta says that he's going to become the Wizard King, saying he's not going to allow him to be defeated by some weakling like... Suddenly, Revchi would rip out Asta's heart with a chain. Asta would cough up blood, feeling the light leaving his eyes, as his head would slump to the ground. Pochita would then run towards Asta, yelping in fear and anger. This would be when Yuno, who was about to say something about Asta, could feel the words catch in his throat. Asta! Yuno would remember from back then. His tears would begin to flow into Yuno's eyes, as he remembered when Asta had helped protect him from that thief who tried to steal his necklace. Yuno could feel the cold turquoise underneath his shirt. Yuno would grit his teeth, remembering how Asta had relentlessly attacked trying to get this necklace back, and how it was what drove him to want to have that same dream to become the Wizard King. As he's remembering this, Yuno finally says, as he cries out, that Asta was is my rival. Just before Yuno had said these words, within Asta's heart, within his own mindscape, he would see someone. It'd be Pochita. Pochita would be in Asta's arms. Asta asking what's going on, what's going to happen. Pochita would smile, telling Asta that even though he was a demon, Asta was one of the only humans to ever show him true kindness. Now, it's time for you to show me that dream. Let me see all that food you're gonna get, how you're gonna become a Wizard King. Show it to me, Asta. Pochita! Back in the real world, when Yuno says this, he's my rival. Asta could feel the heart beating within his chest. Pochita had become Asta's heart. Hearing these words encouraging Asta, his fighting spirit would flow as he takes his arm, rips it through the chain, and grabs that handle on his chest, pulling it tightly. Suddenly, a ripping sound of metal and blood would go squirting across the wall, blood splattering as huge metal plates would begin to spin out of Asta's body, his head transforming, a sound of a chainsaw reverberating. Of course, no one in this world actually knows what a chainsaw is because they don't exist. Because there's no chainsaws in Black Clover, but it would still be terrifying to them hearing this metallic growling sound. What are you? Revchi would say. Asta with a metallic voice would scream, ripping his hand through the chain and sawing it. The chainsaws ripping through the magic metal like they were nothing. Asta would run forward with his intense strength and speed from all of his training, being even stronger and faster than before, using the chainsaws as he slashes through the ground, cutting up all the chains Revchi can cast at him. Go to hell! Asta would bash Revchi in the arm, slashing at him with the moving chainsaw, them spinning even faster on both of his arms and his head. This would rip off Revchi's entire arm, cutting through it like it was nothing. With one more fast slash, Asta would see a splatter of blood as Revchi's head would fall to the ground, the corpse beginning to bleed out, having killed the former magic knight instantly. Yuno would be terrified, asking, Asta, is that you? Knowing that Yuno was safe and that everything was alright, Asta would fall out of the Chainsaw Man demon state, the blood loss that he had experienced causing him to pass out. Yuno would rush over asking Asta if he's alright. Asta, opening his eyes, would say weakly, yeah, I'm just fine. Asta would weakly hold his hand up, showing it to Yuno in a fist. Do you still remember what you said back then? Yuno would smile, giving him a fist bump, saying, how could I forget? That one of us... No, I will become the Wizard King. And just like that, the two had relived the promise from years ago. Asta having now absorbed Pochita and becoming the Chainsaw Demon. After healing up, Asta would have made a full recovery. Everyone would wonder where Pochita had gone. Asta showing on his chest the single string pulling out, resembling Pochita's tail, saying that Pochita had saved his life, and he wasn't going to waste it, saying he's going to show Pochita the dream that he had, the dream of his future to become the Wizard King. After 6 months of continuously training, Asta would be pushing his body to the limits, even having gotten used to and learning how to use Pochita's power to a better degree. And after those 6 months had passed, it was now time for Asta and Yuno to leave home. The two of them heading out with a tearful goodbye to their family, as they now make their way towards the royal capital to take the exams to become magic knights. Well, that's it for part 1 of What If Asta Was Chainsaw Man. This really isn't Black Clover anymore, so much as Black Chainsaw, but take it as you will. Anyway, I'm pretty excited to see the next part for this series, as well as seeing how Yami and the other Magic Knight captains react to Asta's transformation. I'm looking forward to seeing where this series goes. If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure to leave them down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.